We may any day now, any minute now, have the comprehensively inept, bumbling giggler-in-chief Kamala Harris installed as the leader of the free world and the Democrats' 2024 presidential candidate. No elections, no primaries, nothing. Isn't it funny how the side that bleats endlessly about threats to democracy is the biggest threat to democracy? It's always about projection with these folks. For whatever you may think of the cognitively impaired Joe Biden, he has won the delegates necessary for renomination. They had primaries, Joe won them. In any sort of democracy, that matters for something, but not anymore. And it's not because they suddenly discovered Joe was mentally unfit for office. It's because he is floundering in the polls. Even before the debate, he was in peril. But after his cognitive decline was laid bare, the vultures have come out. And it's the wildly unpopular and incompetent Kamala Harris who is right now seen as their best chance. Yes, this woman.
We all watched the television coverage of just yesterday. That's on top of everything else that we know and don't know yet, based on what we've just been able to see. And because we've seen it or not doesn't mean it hasn't happened, but just limited to what we have seen.
When looking at Kamala Harris, it's easy to be distracted by the ineptitude, the cackling idiocy. But mark my words, this is a dangerously race-obsessed neo-Marxist politician whose voting record is among the most radically far left in the Senate.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I gotta tell you guys, the Democrat Party civil war is just getting started. And I am here to tell you that already you have the race hustlers of America, the black bourgeoisie. They are sending warning shots to the Democrats. Do not stage this coup against Joe Biden because we know you're trying to take out Kamala Harris. Now, there's a conspiracy theory among the black bourgeoisie, the black liberals that support Kamala Harris, which is that Kamala is the Democrats' secret weapon that they just don't know about, right? Kamala is so competent. She's so good. She's so well-spoken. And we just don't know why Democrats aren't using her more, weaponizing her more in order to galvanize voters, right? They're basically saying Kamala Harris is somebody that the rest of the world doesn't see, right? Because her approval rating is just as low as Joe Biden's, right? And again, this is part of the reason why Democrats want to get rid of Kamala is because nobody wants anything to do with this current administration, right? There's a strong stigma of being associated with the Biden administration, right? It's terrible. One of the worst administrations in history. Everybody can see that outside of the black liberals, the black bourgeoisie, right? So because they can't see that, they believe that something else has to be going on here, right? They're trying to stage this coup against Biden, which by extension is staging a coup against Kamala because they don't want Kamala either, because of bigotry, right? They're already pulling out the race card saying that, hey, there's some racism going on here. Okay, there's some white fear going on here within the Democrat Party because of what is happening to Kamala Harris. Take a look.
I've been warning people for months, and it's happening before us. They want to take Biden out to take Harris out.
Roland, I'm thinking about your book, White Fear. One thing that we need to have the kitchen table talk about is that the Democratic Party, Republican Party are tools in which the Black community can use to advance their interests in this country. It does not mean that the Republican Party or the Democratic Party are always or are in the best interests of Black communities in this country. So I just want to say that so we get, as we're framing this conversation, this is absolutely about taking out Kamala Harris. We could go back to the 2020 campaign and we could look at those who do not support Kamala. Many, even among some of my former colleagues, I had conversations, especially with white women, who said, oh, there was something about Kamala they just didn't like. And I asked every single one of them, tell me specifically, what is it about Kamala Harris that you do not like? And none of them could identify it to me. And some of those white women no longer talk to me, but that's okay. My point in saying all this and about white fear is that what we're seeing, I think I mentioned this on the show a few weeks ago, there's a difference between winning and power. These people here want power. They don't always care about winning because you don't have to get the W in order to coalesce power. I also remember the summer of 2020, I was a part of a large group of Black women where we told Biden, hey, if your VP better be a Black woman, here is the short list. You need to pick someone from this list. And fortunately, he did. And so Black women are paying attention because we hear what's going on, we see what's going on, and we don't like it.
Wow. They say the quiet part out loud, right? You see that? You heard that? This Black liberal woman said that all of us came together in 2020 and told Joe Biden, here's a short list of Black women. You better pick a Black woman to be your VP, right? Now I can see why some of these Black liberals are so loyal to Joe Biden. Well, why are these Black liberal women so loyal to Joe Biden? Right? Apparently, they can use Joe Biden to put people in positions that they're not qualified for, right? Which is ultimately why Kamala Harris is in this position, okay? But imagine, guys, if a bunch of white men, right, came together and went to Trump and said, hey, you better pick a white man as your VP. Here's a short list of white men that you can pick. What would people be saying? Right? What would people be saying? People would be crying racism, right? But again, it's totally fine to be racist and discriminatory as well, too, because that's what you're doing, okay? You're overtly discriminating. You're saying you can't pick anybody else who is not Black and doesn't have a vagina, right? This is what you're saying, okay? But again, if you was to do that with the white man, right, either way, people would be upset. They'd be mad, okay? They'd be boo-hoo-wine and crying. But again, what you're hearing here, guys, is these Black liberals turn on the Democrat establishment because, again, now they feel offended by the fact that they are trying to skip over Kamala Harris. They're trying to skip over the diversity pick. Now, again, what these people don't realize, because they're so foolish, is that Kamala was only picked to get you guys to vote. Kamala wasn't picked for any other reason outside of that. Now, it's you guys' fault that you decided to line up and vote for these fools, these clowns, simply because they put a token on the ticket, right? Which is what Joe Biden admitted to during the campaign multiple times, that Kamala Harris is simply a diversity token.
I committed that if I'm elected president, have an opportunity to appoint someone to the courts, I'll appoint the first Black woman to the courts. It's required that they have representation now. It's long overdue. Secondly, if I'm elected president, my cabinet, my administration will look like the country. And I commit that I will, in fact, I'll pick a woman to be vice president. There are a number of women who are qualified to be president tomorrow. I would pick a woman to be my vice president.
Mr. Vice President, if I could just follow up. Just to be clear, you just committed here tonight that your running mate, if you get the nomination, will be a woman?
Yes.
Of course. Here's what he thinks of black jobs. I love his phrase, black jobs. It tells a lot about the man and about his character. Folks, I know what a black job is. It's a vice president of the United States. The values of diversity, equality, inclusion are literally, and that's not kidding, the core strengths of America. That's why I'm proud to have the most diverse administration in history. It taps into the full talents of our country. And starts at the top with the vice president.
Yeah, so I find it fascinating how liberals get so mad and so upset when conservatives simply point out what liberals admit to all the time, which is that, yeah, we're hiring based off skin color, genitalia, whether or not you like your genitalia, who you like to sleep with. This is our main criteria, right? And we're doing this because of DEI. And then when Republicans and conservatives turn around and say, yeah, well, Kamala is a DEI pick. Karine Jean-Pierre is DEI. Ketanji Brown Jackson is DEI. they want to boo-hoo, whine, and cry racism, right? For simply pointing out what liberals openly admit to. Okay, it kind of reminds me of the whole replacement theory conversation, right? Democrats openly talk about replacement theory and celebrate it, really, to be quite honest with you, openly on their networks, but they just call it demographic change, okay? However, when Republicans, conservatives talk about demographic change, now all of a sudden it is racism and bigotry. Right? Do you guys understand how this works? Okay. Democrats say when we talk about it, when we do stuff, it's good by definition because we have D by our name, right? When Republicans do something, that's the exact same thing we're doing. Or they talk about something that we're talking about, then by definition, it's hateful bigotry and it's bad because they have an R by their name, right? That's kind of how it works. Okay. This is why Democrats think that it's okay for them to overthrow democracy within their own party, right? To stage a coup against Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, while at the same time lecturing Republicans about democracy. Again, it's hilarious how that works, right? So with that being said, Democrats and black liberals as well too have put Kamala Harris in this box, right? Where she is somebody that nobody has confidence in because everybody knows why she was picked. They didn't lead with her qualifications. You notice how Trump didn't mention J.D. Vance's sex or his race or anything having to do with his identity when talking about why he's qualified to be the VP pick, right? So now it will never cross anybody's mind that, oh, well, J.D. Vance was picked because he's a white male, right? It doesn't have anything to do with that because he never leads with that, right? That's not what he leads with, okay? But Democrats lead with that, and then they want to act shocked that people don't think that Kamala Harris is qualified, right? And the funny part is that deep down, they know that Kamala Harris isn't qualified. This is why a lot of these individuals refuse to outright endorse Kamala Harris when they're complaining about Democrats staging a coup against Joe Biden to take out Kamala. They don't come out here and give a ringing endorsement of Kamala Harris saying that it should be her, she should be the president, she should take over. They never say that. They just cry bigotry, right? Because even they can't come out here and to openly state that, well, I do believe that Kamala will be a good president. Because none of them actually really believe it, right? And that's kind of what's going to happen here in this clip on CNN when Scott Jennings, who's a conservative commentator. By the way, Scott Jennings has been spanking liberals on CNN all week. I can't get enough of it. We have another clip here of this black liberal woman basically boohoo whining crying about Democrats staging this coup against Kamala and Joe, right? And she is essentially implying that Kamala Harris has been held back, right? And Scott Jennings is going to ask her, well, who is holding Kamala Harris back and why, right? And this woman's response tells you everything you need to know. It's pretty fascinating. This is why Democrats are headed towards an absolute dumpster fire, especially if they stage this coup against Biden and Kamala. It's going to be a dumpster fire.
If Kamala Harris hadn't been tied up for years, sort of put to the side and allowed to lead and allowed to show.
Who did that to
and
her?
allowed to show. But here's the thing.
Who can put Kamala in the corner?
A couple bad interviews.
Who can put her in the corner?
And that was a mistake that Democrats are going to learn from.
Who made it? Who made the mistake? I just want to hear you say who made the mistake.
But this is the point.
Who made the mistake?
This happens in your party too. This happens in your party too.
You won't say it.
This is sexism, right?
Wow. Wow. You see what just happened there, guys? So this woman is pushing this conspiracy that I told you guys that black liberals believe, which is that somehow, some way, Kamala is some super confident, super well-spoken, super talented politician that the Democrats just can't see it, right? They can't see it. Nobody in the world can see it outside of them, right? That Kamala's so special. But she's being held back for some reason that we just don't know, okay? Now, you just saw Roland Martin's crew basically say, well, it's racism, right? Okay, it's white fear, okay? Now this woman is saying that it is sexism. Now, again, the funny part about this is that now all of a sudden, in order to explain this so-called racism and sexism, they have to now label the Democrat Party as racist and sexist, right? Which, again, is why it's going to be a disaster if they skip over Kamala, because this is what they're going to do, right? They're going to come out here and say, well, you did it because you're racist and you're sexist, because we believe that Kamala is some super talented figure that nobody can really see all the talent that she has. She's super underrated. You guys aren't using her. You are allowing her to lead. And the only reason isn't because she was picked just because of her skin color and her race or her sex. No. It's because you guys are racist, right? You guys are sexist. You are bigots. This is what they're saying. This is what they're saying. When the truth, the honest to God truth, is that Kamala Harris is being looked over because she wasn't picked for her actual qualifications, right? Kamala Harris was out of the Democrat primary before a vote was cast. She was single-handedly destroyed by Tulsi Gabbard. She's not a very talented politician. She's very mediocre. But they don't want to admit that. They don't want to admit it. They want to blame it on everything else except what it is. You guys, liberal black women, went to Joe Biden and said, here's a list of black women you can choose from. You didn't say, here's a list of qualified individuals you can choose from. You said, here's a list of black women that you can choose from, and you better choose a black woman. And that's what they did. Because the top criteria had nothing to do with the VP's ability to competently lead the country. Which is why Democrats don't let Kamala lead. But again, they can't put the two and two together. No, it has to be hate and bigotry. It has to be racism. It has to be sexism. No, it's because you guys didn't care. You didn't care. You just wanted a black woman. All you cared about was race and sex. And it is backfired in your face big time. It is humiliating what's happening to Kamala Harris right now. She should be humiliated. Because the fact that she is not being used in the way that you guys want her to be used shows you everything that you need to know about her. It's not because she's a black woman. And I can give you so many examples of why that's not the case. First and foremost, if it was about her skin color or her race, Barack Obama would not have been the Democrat candidate. If it was about her sex, her genitalia, Hillary Clinton would not have been the Democrat Party nominee. Right now, I'm pretty sure Democrats behind closed doors, people are begging Michelle Obama to jump into the race. So again, it's not because she's black and a woman. None of these things are valid. But again, they can't see it any other way outside of that, even though deep down they know. Deep down they know the real reason. But they don't care because these people have no interest whatsoever in putting somebody qualified in place to actually lead the country. All they care about is, okay, are we getting representation? Are we getting power as a collective, as a group? That's what they see Kamala Harris as. They don't care, again, if she could actually do it. They just want her in that position because they feel like for them, it's going to allow them to get better access. It's going to give them opportunities. So they're only really looking out for themselves. That's what they're doing. But again, what they don't realize is that when you do this, you actually make black people look bad. You make black people look incompetent. And this is the whole argument against affirmative action and DEI in the first place, is when you start putting these people in positions of power for reasons that have nothing to do with how competent they are, how qualified they are, or at least not the main reasons. This is what you get. You put some token in power, and then people point to that individual when they fail because they're not qualified. They point to that individual and they say, see, that's the reason why I feel uncomfortable with so-called people of color in positions of power, because we don't even know if they're being picked for the right reasons. And you're perpetuating that. And that hurts so-called people of color. It really does.
Who
did it to her?
This is sexism. This is allowing somebody to take the fall when things aren't going well. And that happens regardless of party. So you guys have something to learn, because I saw your RNC and it wasn't very diverse.
Listen, I just want to know.
Jamal,
you were there.
Because
I was there.
Who put Kamala in the corner?
Nobody put her in the corner. The woman works every day.
That's what she said.
She traveled 3 times a week.
She just said that.
But nobody paid attention to what Pence did every day either.
Oh my God!
So I think it's, very unfair.
Pence, I didn't see him at the convention.
Pence is not there because
I just think it's very unfair to hold her to a standard
referee
that we're not holding all the other vice presidents.
Yeah, I mean, the point that Scott Jennings is making is that all the things that these people are complaining about in regards to Kamala not being out front in front of everybody, that lays at the feet of the Democrat Party. And again, what is the excuse for in regards to why Democrats aren't putting Kamala out front? Oh, well, it must be bigotry, right? It must be bigotry. Which, again, is just fascinating because if you know anything about the Democrat Party, you know that they love racial identity politics. There's nothing that the Democrats would love more than to have Kamala Harris lead. I mean, she's half black, allegedly. Okay, people say Jamaican, so not really black. Half Indian and a woman. I mean, come on now. This is the party that nominated Obama and Hillary Clinton. So the fact that they're not letting Kamala take the reins, to me, is an indication of just how bad Kamala actually really is, what they really think about her. Okay? And you know it's true because if Kamala was even somewhat competent, she should have already taken over. Okay? She should already, but Biden got into the race saying, I'm a transition candidate. That's what he said. But when they actually got into the White House, they realized that, damn, Kamala is so incompetent that we don't even believe that she can take over for Biden. Right? This is what happened. So, I mean, I'm just saying, I personally think that if Kamala was qualified and had what it takes, I believe the Democrats would love to go with Kamala Harris. The fact they're not going with Kamala Harris tells you everything you know about just how bad she is, okay? So, you know, I just find it hilarious that they're pulling the bigotry card on Democrats because that's exactly what's going to happen if Democrats end up skipping over Kamala, which, again, they only picked her because of DEI purposes, which is why they can't lead with her. Again, that's the irony here. It's going to destroy the party. Like I told you guys, they're on a one-way trip towards self-destruction, and you're already seeing the race hustlers, the black liberals, come out here and cry bigotry against the Democrats over the impending coup against Biden and Kamala. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a black conservative perspective. Peace.